Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video doing the ECMWF 30-day forecast for today's second video. So we're going to look at mean sea level pressure, 500 millibar heights, temperature and precipitation anomalies for the next 4 weeks for the UK and for Europe as well. It's our 4-week European outlook, and actually we'll extend out to weeks 5 and 6 with this, as why not? Why not do that? So I shall get on it for you very shortly. Just to say that the third video coming up today will be a 10 to 14 day, which will have all of the regular features included in it as well. Check out our 7 AM upload, nice little forecast, lasting a couple of minutes for the next few days. So have a look at that if you have not yet seen it. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let YouTube know that you're enjoying the video. Thank you so much, everybody. Right, so you're going to start off with the week 1 mean sea level pressure anomaly for Europe. So this is taking us from the 12th through to the 19th of April. The general sort of idea is that high pressure is dominating the weather, particularly across northern and western parts of Europe. So you've got a large ridge of high pressure extending up through the west of Europe, up to Scandinavia as well. And this ridge does extend down into the central part of the Med too. To the east of that, though, we have got a bit of a trough within the 500 millibar flow just here. And there's a slightly weaker pressure across Spain and Portugal as well. But essentially, high pressure is dominating weather across much of Europe this week, and he's bringing in some quite cold air from the north across northern and northwestern areas in particular. The 500 millibar height anomaly looks like that. Again, this is taking us through week 1, which is the 12th through to the 19th of April. So we've got a ridge extending in from the Atlantic into northern parts of Europe as well. Trough of low pressure is through eastern and southeastern parts of Europe. So this is where the most unsettled weather is likely to be, with this trough of low pressure. The north and west generally anticyclonic and having quite a lot of dry weather. Temperature anomalies are pretty cold across most parts of Europe this week, with some exceptions. So we've got the far northeast of Europe up here around the Baltic Sea into the northwest of Russia, where it's quite significantly above average. It's also a little bit milder than average through Portugal and into western parts of Spain, and over towards Turkey and into some of the Greek islands. It's a little bit milder than average through there. That said, most areas are colder than average, so from Ireland, the UK and France in the west, all the way over to Black Sea in the east and down into many of those Greek islands. We are coming out colder than average, quite significantly so, really. And the coldest anomalies are like from the southeast into France, and then over towards eastern parts of Europe through here, where on the temperature scale, we're going down to around 3 to 6 degrees below average. So this is a significantly colder than average anomaly through most parts of Europe through the weekend. Precipitation wise, we look like that. So where we've got the high pressure, of course, it's relatively dry, so that's much of Scandinavia down the western side of Europe. Most areas are coming out dry with average air from like central Spain all the way to Scandinavia. The far southeast Europe also looks pretty dry as well, so from the south of Black Sea down into Greece, Turkey, and then over into the Middle East. So largely dry and average through there. In between, though, there is a wetter than average swathe, which is just here, starting from like southwestern Russia and going down to North Africa. A swathe of wetter conditions through there under that trough of low pressure across the east of Europe. Right, that's week 1 done. Let's have a look at week 2 then. This will take us from the 19th to 26th of April. Essentially, high pressure continues to dominate the weather, so the ridge is there through the UK and Ireland, extending out into the eastern and northeastern parts of Europe. The centre of the ridge looks like it's over western parts of Russia, actually, so it's a large ridge that's covering much of northern Europe. Further south, we haven't got as much low pressure, I don't think, through the eastern part of Europe, but nevertheless, pressure is a bit weaker there. And we actually have got some low pressure across North Africa, Spain and Portugal, which is a little bit unusual for this time of the year. 500 millibar height anomaly looks like that. So again, just the idea that high pressure is dominating across much of northern Europe anyway, so this large ridge is covering the north of Europe. Lower pressure down towards Spain and North Africa as well. Temperature anomalies for week 2 across Europe look like this. So the coldest weather, coldest temperatures, I suppose, are shifting southwards and eastwards. So now the cold and average temperature anomalies are across the southern and eastern parts of Europe through here. Many parts of the Med, for example, looking below average. Scandinavia is warming up, going mild and average through there, beginning to go a little bit milder through Ireland, the UK, and western parts of France as well. And even into northern parts of Spain, it's going a little bit milder than there as well. The warmest anomalous average room is extreme southeastern part of Europe and pushing on towards the Middle East. The precipitation anomaly for week 2 looks like that, and again it's dry for much of northern and western Europe, so where we've got that large ridge, lots of dry and fine weather up there, down into the Mediterranean it's more unsettled, especially through the western bowl or central bowl of the Med and in towards Spain and Portugal, especially southern and eastern parts of Spain, which is a little bit unusual, and down to North Africa, probably some big thunderstorms I would have thought through there. The southeastern part of the Med looks a little bit drier, and then up towards the Black Sea and into southern Russia, it's a little bit wetter through there. So the idea basically is that northern Europe is anticyclonic and mainly fine. Southern Europe does look quite a lot more unsettled. Right, that's week 2 done. Let's have a look at week 3, which is going to be the 26th of April to the 3rd of May. See what's going on in this week. So high pressure is still there across many northern parts of Europe. So, of course, going further out, so the signal gets a little bit weaker, but the signals aren't quite as strong. But nevertheless, looks like got quite a big ridge covering much of northern Europe. Low pressure, particularly down towards Spain and Portugal. And yeah, so high pressure is in control in many areas. 500 millibar height anomaly looks like that. Again, it does suggest a lot of high pressure across the north and western Europe. Low pressure down towards Spain and Portugal. Otherwise, the signals are getting that little bit weaker. The temperature anomaly looks like this. So it is gradually getting warmer through the second half of April in the north and the west of Europe. We now have above average temperatures from Scandinavia through Ireland and the UK, really, through France in particular, Belgium, Holland, Netherlands, western Germany, and even into northern parts of Spain as well. Coldest anomalies to average are in this eastern and southeastern part of Europe. And then we push on into the week 3 precipitation anomaly, and it looks like that. So very wet for Spain, Portugal, and North Africa, which is quite unusual as we get into May. You would expect things to be settling down there, but it looks like we could have some really big showers and thunderstorms through the southwestern part of Europe. And maybe some of these showers affecting the central part of the Med as well. Pushing further northwards, though, driving average again with this high pressure across much of northern Europe. So it does look as though northern Europe is going to be largely settled, really, for the rest of April. And then we go through to week 4, which will be the 3rd through to the 10th of May. Let's just go back to the mean cell pressure anomaly, sorry. And signs that the ridge is beginning to slip in towards the eastern part of Europe. So again, it's a weakening signal, but it looks like higher pressure is beginning to recede back a little bit in towards the eastern part of Europe. So possibly, maybe, beginning to turn a little bit more unsettled in the west of Europe, but particularly so again down towards Spain and Portugal. The 500 millibar height anomaly for week 4 looks like that. Again, just a weakening signal, but it looks like the ridge is drifting more towards the eastern part of Europe, so you question whether this western and northern part of Europe could be starting to turn more unsettled. It's not really enough of a signal to be able to say one way or another what's causing that ridge to slip into the east of Europe. What we can see is that the temperature anomalies across many parts of Europe are largely average to above average, so we begin to get rid of these colder than average temperatures we have had over the past few weeks. And the week 4 precipitation anomaly looks like that. It is a weak signal, but largely dry or average or no signal to slight dry and average, really, across most parts of Europe. I'll just run you through weeks 5 and 6 while we're here, because why not? So this is week 5. Mean sea level pressure anomaly does look as though it's turning more unsettled across the northern parts of Europe. This is the 10th to the 17th of May. Lower pressure coming back into the north and the northwest of Europe. We should see that reflected on the 500 millibar height anomaly. Yes, we do. So get further on into May. It's turning more unsettled after that drier start. Cooling down as well across the northwest of Europe. So yeah, definitely cooling down and probably turning more unsettled, having a precipitation anomaly. It's a very weak signal as you're expecting week 5, but it does look as though Northern Europe is beginning to get that little bit wetter. And then finally, week 6 is going to be the 17th, 24th of May. That's how it looks. So low pressure out to west of Ireland and the UK. Signs of a bit of a Scandinavian high trying to build across Scandinavia. Otherwise, very weak signals. Week 6, 500 millibar height anomaly. Looks like that. Again, low pressure is developing just out to our west. Higher pressure over towards Scandinavia. Week 6 temperature anomaly. Much of northern central Europe might have an average. In the west, it does look as though it's probably that little bit cooler. A week 6 precipitation anomaly. Looks a little bit on the wet side for Western Europe, especially for Ireland, possibly for the UK, and maybe for parts of Portugal and Western France as well. East and South East Europe look like they're getting the driest weather. And that's it. So it looks as though there's going to be a lot of dry weather through Northern Europe through the rest of April and possibly into the start of May as well. Always rather more unsettled, interestingly, and perhaps a little bit unusually, in southern and southwestern parts of Europe. And then getting to May, it looks like we change the pattern again. So then the driest and warmest weather probably shifting towards the south and the southeast of Europe, and it turns wetter and cooler in the north and the west. Just a snapshot of what Molly's showing, so it could all look very different, next week. So any forecast beyond 5-7 days comes with big health warnings, but that's how it's looking with the ECMWF extended model today. We'll be back later on with 10 to 14 day update, which will include all of the regular features, so come back for that then. For the EC 30-day forecast, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.